Max Galaxy writes, do you think Sony will ever make a film based on their email hack back in December of 2014?
Yes, I think there's money to be made there. I think it could be a very interesting story. I don't want Sony making it, because if Sony it all depends. Look, the starting assumption, if Sony makes it, they're going to kind of twist the story a little bit so they don't look as bad. But if they just embrace it and say, yep, that happened, and here's the story, they could profit from it. I think they will do it, and I think it's a pretty good idea to do it. You don't have to do it this year, you don't have to do it next, but probably within the next 3 or 4 years or so. So I would be into seeing it.
Yeah, and you call it Firewall 2, and only Harrison Ford can stop all these emails from being hacked. I think they definitely should make it at some point. It should not be Sony. It should be some sort of independent. Get the dude Michael Lewis, who wrote The Big Short, and to get him to get investigated and get his hands dirty with all the stuff that went down, and then make that movie, because The Big Short or The Company Men or even 99 Homes, anything about a crisis, about a crash involved, whether it's physical, it's economic, or it's on the interwebs, sounds like a good premise to me.
I got the title. It's The Big Hack. There you go.
The Big Hack.
Start writing that right now. I need that script right away.
Firewall 2, The Big Hack?
I like it. Let's go with that subtitle.
Oh, that works.
Firewall 2.
All right, what's
Virginia
next?
Madsen has to be back in it too. I'm behind the firewall. I don't even know what that is. Then Gandalf shows up. You're in the wrong movie.
Okay.
Where does your head go?
Firewall. None shall pass.
And then we get that Ice Age squirrel looking for the nut. The nut's in the firewall too.
And then Sausage Party shows up. You want these nuts?
Right.
Bam.
We get the adults. We get the kiddies involved.
They're all in there. We Firewall 2, The Big Hack.
Oh my goodness.
What's next?
Next question comes from Fett, and they write, what's better, Deadpool or The Force Awakens?
Deadpool.
Ooh.
I mean, look, they're different movies. They're very, very different movies. And it's always difficult when you're talking about films that are completely different genres, because you cannot compare point 1A to point 1A here and point 1B to point 1B here. They're different movies.
Deadpool's funnier.
And Deadpool's funnier. Star Wars has got... But, look, but all I can say is that at the end of the day, after when you get to the bottom line, which one did I walk out having more fun or being more just entertained? And I've got to call it like it is. I got to be honest. It was Deadpool for me. There are some aspects in which The Force Awakens is a much better film. Some aspects in which Deadpool is a much better film. But for me, when you bring it down to the pure entertainment value of it, I walked out more entertained with Deadpool.
It really is odd, because they're two very different movies, even though the Venn diagram of fans that want to go see both is very, very overlapping. Because, like, if you saw Deadpool and somebody used the Force, you'd think, that's kind of stupid. But if you saw Luke Skywalker break the fourth wall in Star Wars, that would have been a little weird, too. Right. I'm going to go with The Force Awakens.
Watch what I do to him with my lightsaber.
Right.
I'm going to say Star Wars wins, but, man, it's a closer race than I would have anticipated in Star Wars, because it emotionally moved me more, and I had such a blast watching it. Deadpool is a lot of fun. Didn't do much to my emotions, but I enjoyed the hell out of both of them, so spend the money.
Yeah, they're totally different camps for me, so I can't compare them. I could say I absolutely loved Deadpool for exactly what it delivered. It is hilarious. It is great. There's action, there's violence, and there is just an insane level of humor to it that was just satisfied me completely. And Star Wars, a completely different film, a science fiction film, a fantasy film in this genre that I saw as a little kid, and it continues, and it satisfied me on all those levels. So I can't compare them. I love them both.
All right, what's next?
All right. Solid Snake writes, what one film would you say has the best cinematography you've ever seen?
Ooh. A lot goes into cinematography, but Hero, the Jet Li film Hero is just so undeniably gorgeous and beautiful. I think I talked about this movie a few weeks ago, but I mean, the use of color in the visual aspect, like every single frame of the movie is like a painted work of art. It's just gorgeous and breathtaking, and so I will probably go with Hero.
I've got a list off the top of my head.
We're gonna
Apocalypto, I would say.
Apocalypto is gorgeous.
Incredibly beautiful, lush, crazy different color designs. Once they go to that temple, everyone's coated in that weird. Yeah. It's just a very rich, beautiful film. You go back to a crazy Western, Sergio Leone's Westerns. I love the cinematography, the large scale scope, like all the, the Western style, the gunmen, you have to see it in CinemaScope really to really fully enjoy it. Sergio Leone, I would say. Scorsese, he always has great cinematographers. The camera's always moving. The camera is almost a character. It's alive in his films. Boy, there's like I'll leave it right there. There's a list that's in.
Yeah, the one that really shocked me when I saw it the first time was The Matrix. The way that I'd never seen shots set up like that before. And then I'll also say something recently, which is a movie I didn't love, but the cinematography was just breathtaking, was unbroken. I just could not believe how beautiful that movie looked. And Sicario, even last year, I'll honk Roger Deakins. I mean, that was such a cool way to set up those shots. And it doesn't always have to be like a big, sweeping, epic Ten Commandments kind of thing.
Right.
It can be smaller. It can be subtle. Go watch The Hustler. Go see movies like that where it's not the fanciest or the flashiest, but every shot that's set up in that movie is so perfectly tuned to what the action is.
Yeah, and also I'll bring up Barton Fink. That's a Coen Brothers film that's really well shot. It's a black and white, but it's like it really has this textural feel to it. So.
Lawrence of Arabia. That's good. Like that's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous
Fury
film.
Road. I mean, Fury Road and The Revenant,
Road was
both great
beautifully
cinematography.
All right, what's next?
Darth Malto writes, what was the most heart-wrenching movie moment of 2015?
2015.
I'll go right off Room.
Yes.
That movie tore me
yeah.
up, man. I was crying it hurt. I mean, that film was like painfully emotional throughout the entire film. And, I mean, it's an incredible movie. So I'm really, Brie Larson and that little kid, amazing acting. So, I mean, without them being the core of that film. But
Which gets you emotionally hooked into it and all that kind of stuff. What about you? Emotionally tearing
I mean,
moments?
look, I'm going to use my bias again because nothing hooked me emotionally like seeing Star Wars on the big screen again. And there were some moments in Star Wars that even though once I got over the fact that I was seeing Star Wars again, there's moments in that film, particularly towards the last part, that really just so grab you by the throat and by the heart and tug on your heartstrings. And then there's a few Oscar movies, like there were points in The Revenant when I really felt so connected with that character, and I so was rooting for DiCaprio to get revenge on what happened to him because I just felt so bad, like my heart was breaking for him. So I'd probably say, I mean, I hate to go with that kind of bait, but it's The Revenant and The Force Awakens for me emotionally moved me the most. And then I'll also say Creed, just because I could kind of guess and hope where the story was going, but the way it told the story made it so much more emotionally impacting than I thought it could. And that's as much of a credit to Ryan Coogler, the director, as it is Michael B. Jordan or Sylvester Stallone.
I'll also say Diary of a Teenage Girl. That's another film that really, I got sucked into the storyline. It took place in the 70s. It was like a girl just discovering who she, her sexuality. But it's such a really well done film, from the actors all the way to the story to the direction. Another fantastic film that you just get drawn into emotionally.
And it's easier to cheat if you say documentaries, but Cartel Land, oh my God, will you lose some faith in humanity? But it is just eye-opening, and it will do a lot of things.
I think you guys are all missing the scene that we thought Alexander Daddario drowned in San Andreas. That was
Moment of silence.
the pain on the Rock's face.
Please, he was Dwayne in that movie, John. He was not The Rock.
All right, two more.
All right, M. Nazar Sayed writes, what's your favorite romantic dramedy minus 500 Days of Summer?
Romantic dramedy is a very narrow focus.
Yeah, I mean,
Plus, I don't even know why minus 500 Days of Summer. I wouldn't even put that in there as my favorite.
I would put it in there for a
dramedy.
while, but I just hate the way that poor boy got cock teased at the end of that movie. Really, really. As a guy who's been friend zoned a number of times, and by the way, has never met the girl that he meets at the end of the movie. That's never happened to me.
Hey, I like
So-
that Don Juan. I think the Don John, that one, the Gordon
All right,
Levitt
Don
film.
Juan, yeah.
That was a really fun.
But that was
all
like
right.
2014, 2013.
Yeah. Oh no,
Was
these are all
All
time.
This could be
all time. That was a
timeless.
nice one.
Yeah,
that was
that
a
was a
really
fun
good
one.
one. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
just off the top
say,
of my head.
because Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan got lumped into this romantic comedy thing, but when you You've Got Mail is, but when you watch Sleepless in Seattle, man, there's some hardcore emotional stuff
Yep.
going on in that. So I'm gonna take Sleepless in Seattle
When
more
Harry
so
Met Sally?
than When Harry Met Sally, because that's more of a straight up comedy than Sleepless in Seattle is like. Yeah, it's funny, but there's some lighthearted moments.
Right,
We're
right.
also throwing cancer at your ass.
Right.
I want to just hire Cameron to follow Ashley around for like 1 week using Tinder, and then that would probably become our
Swipe
new
it.
favorite
Swipe it. Swipe it.
romantic dramedy. I think that would be kind of cool. All right, last question of the day.
All right, Bebo18 writes, why don't we see more directorial team-ups that aren't siblings? What directorial team-up would you like to see?
Here's the thing, directorial team-ups, and this is why I think the brother thing happens. Directorial team-ups are very, very difficult because you're talking about an artistic thing. An artistic thing is very an individual thing. And you're talking about directors, ultimately the person in charge. It becomes it can be difficult to direct something together. And that's why I think you often see, when you do see directorial pairings, they're brothers. Neville Dean and Taylor is an exception to that. Lord Miller is an exception to that. But these are guys who've been working together for so long. They're practically brothers
And they're
already.
also writing together. And
And
that's
they're
a big,
also writing
that's a big
together.
part of it.
So I think you're just inviting a lot of potential drama when you have co-directors, and that's why the ones you see that work, for the most part, they're either brothers or they're like brothers.
Like
I don't know, what do you
Coens,
think?
Russos, Wachowskis. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've seen a lot of films just in this past year that have like two different directors. But usually, what they do is they split the chore. Like, you're gonna deal with the acting, and I'm gonna deal with the continuity and the shot setups and work with the DP. So that's usually how it's set up. Like just like the brothers. The brothers do the same thing too. They're like, you talk to the actors, I'm gonna deal with, like, getting all the hard parts of getting the shot set up and making sure we're like moving the continuity forward. That's the teamwork works that way. So I think it works for brothers or sisters. It works better because they grew up with each other, so they know, like, I'm taking 5. You go to the bathroom, I'm done. Or whatever. They could get in arguments, but they're blood, so it's never going to get too bad.
Yeah, you pretty much share a brain when you're brothers. You're like those twins in G.I. Joe that could feel each other's pain even when they weren't in the same room. That's how
Zartan?
connected you have to be. Xantar. And no, Xantar was just like the redneck who hung
Zartan
out
was a
with
different
him.
guy, and
Yeah.
then the twins, I'm forgetting who the twins
Yeah,
were.
the McFickelstein twins. Sure. and in response to the second part of the question, 2 directors who I'd like to see work together, I would love to see Michael Bay and Steven Spielberg. Not executive produce. I want to see Steven Spielberg there on set every day so we can tell Michael Bay occasionally, no.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why when you had like the Tintin movies coming around, you're not Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson directing them together. No, they made a deal. Tell you what, you direct one and I'll produce it, and then I'll direct the next one and you produce that.
Right.
And even Kevin Smith has done that with his buddies. Like, I'll direct and you produce, and they've done it that way.
Or
It just-
Lucas and Spielberg too, because
Yep.
one would write and do the story, and then Steven Spielberg, it's his job to actually be the director, but Lucas was kind of there giving notes. So.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, click here to watch the entire episode. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because it'll help you stay up to date with all the stuff we've got going on here at Collider.